Hey y'all, I'm here with Ladarian Williams, New York Times bestselling author of Blood at the Root. It is a powerful story of a young African American boy who travels to a magical HBCU to uncover the secrets of his past and his future.
Yeah. So Blood at the Root is this young adult fantasy contemporary novel. It's about a black king named Malik Barron who is from Helena, Alabama. His magic manifests at 7 years old, and then his mother mysteriously disappears, and he has to go through 10 years of just questions and his new magic. But also, he meets this estranged woman who claims to be his grandmother. And also, she tells him about, this school called Cayman University, and he gets accepted there, but while he goes there, he finds out that his mother actually was a student there. And now he wants to go and investigate some things that had to do with her mysterious disappearance. There may be some people that, the professors or the students or the faculty, whoever, probably has something to do with it. And that's where Malik has to go there and, uncover some dark secrets surrounding his mother's mysterious disappearance.
So, where did your motivation come from to write this book?
Because I saw Children of Blood and Bone blowing up. I saw The Hate You Give and all these other books blowing up. And I was like, oh, okay, it seems like YA is more, there's more black characters here. But when we went to the YA fantasy section, we were not seeing a lot of characters with a young black teen boy at the forefront of the story. And from there, I asked the question. I was like, "Well, where are the black boys?" And like the clerk, she couldn't answer the question, and there was just no answers for me at that moment. And so I declared at that moment, I was like, "Well, I'm going to go write this book." And because this came after a whole bunch of like this started off as a short film. This started off as a TV series idea, but as the for the book itself, the inspiration came from that moment. And it's so interesting. I was just there this morning because they wanted me to come back in and sign books, and I stood in literally in the same spot that I declared that 4 years ago that I was going to write the book, and I was signing books, and like the clerk was like, it's not the same clerk, but the clerk was like, oh wow, that is so cool that you're literally standing in the same spot signing the books. And so that was kind of like my big inspiration for the book itself, turning into a book, turning Blood at the Root into a novel and a fantasy series, because there was just the lack of black boys as the main character in this genre.
Okay, now let's backtrack a little bit. So, can you tell me a little bit about your upgrowing, maybe your connection to the world of writing? Being a full-fledged author is no small feat.
Yeah, I just got back from Alabama, yesterday, and going through the same neighborhood that I grew up in the neighborhood that Malik is from, and feeling like, wow, like I came a long way. I grew up, in a small town called Helena, Alabama. It's right outside of Birmingham. I I it was one of those flatfoot country boy type of, upbringing. We went to the candy lady house, and she would have all the sweets and the drinks and the, all of that, right? But also it was now growing up, it was seen as an apothecary, because the candy lady that's hoodoo, and that was brought down to us, and seeing black women taking up the arms of like, entrepreneurship at such an early age, and listening to the blues. Like me and my dad was riding around, and we was listening to that old blues music, right? Because the blues is infused in everything that we do, in the old gospel, and hearing family, playing, seeing them playing spades and drinking and cussing and laughing, all of that. That was infused into me as a writer. And that's what I've been carrying on now. It's so funny, like, writing now, I'm always looking back and wanting to reflect that, because again, for me, I don't see a lot of that reflected on the page. And so I want to make sure, um you hear the isms, you hear the slang, the country twang of it all. Like, I want to hear that, and also hear the music and the language of the everyday people, the poetic of the South. I think that's so important. And so that's what drives me as a writer, and that's what I infuse in my writing. Not only, being an author, but also a playwright and a screenwriter. So definitely, like it's just all of that. That's how my upbringing really influences a lot of my creativity.
So, just speaking about African American culture, all these things you named, would you consider this book to maybe be a love letter to your roots in some ways?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a love letter to the roots, to my roots, specifically. Like, you know, Helena is a real town, and Malik is from a little neighborhood called Liberty Heights. I'm from Liberty Heights. It was, you have the white section technically, and you have the black folks, across the tracks, right, with the projects and like all of that. It definitely is a love letter to the era of Southern living and small living, and also it's a love letter to our history and also like our our folklore and our mythology. Because even growing up in the church, right? Black folks don't play. They don't play with that magic and that's devil worshiping. But it's just like we have to break that chain a little bit because Hollywood has done a great number on showcasing, and even before Hollywood, it was done during slavery. But Hollywood has done a great thing, a great disservice, but a great thing. What they say, black spirituality is bad. It's devil worship, and it's this is this. But then they go praise Greek mythology. Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm confused because this is about black folks worshiping. What people don't know about laying on the hands. They don't know about the ring shot. Like a lot of these dances that you see on TikTok, this is not like a lot of the stuff on TikTok dances are not new. That's juking, that's ring shout, that's dancing. That comes from our ancestors. So I love when these kids think they coming up with something new on TikTok dances. I'm like, no, this is the majorette dances, right? Like that stuff comes from a place, and I think it's just I think it's just important to showcase that and to also humanize it. That's why it's important for me when people not only go to yes the magical HBCU, because people say like, oh, this is kind of like Black Harry Potter, but when you crack that book open, you're like, wait a minute, the Haitian Revolution, wait a minute, black women were warriors then, wait, hold on, like so they get this history lesson as well, a history that we don't get to learn about in our in the South.
But sometimes, like you said, even the extra layer of being from the South, how does that change a black character? And as you know, as well, I'm from Florida, so it,
Oh,
it,
okay,
it shapes the
yeah,
character,
yeah, yeah.
right? So, I guess why is that? I know you know why it's important, but if you could maybe put it into words for people who don't know why it's important, to have a black character with not just the only layer to them is their blackness, to really go into, the cultural differences when you're from different parts of the country.
Yeah, I think because a lot of people think the South is just it's whatever it's this, but they don't even know a lot of the things like the North and like I'm in LA and like a lot of the things that they do and say and cook, and I'm like, y'all do realize that's from the South, right? Because a lot of people don't know about the Great Migration. A lot of black folks, from Alabama and Mississippi, they went where up to Chicago. A lot of people went to DC and New York, and a lot of people from Texas and Louisiana came out here to California, and those customs and those beliefs and the way of life permeated a lot of the culture in all around the country. So it's just so interesting to see or to hear that people don't think that the South don't have that much influence, which we all know. What did Outcast? What did he say? Like everything comes from the South, right? Like
The South got something to
we
say.
got something to say, right? So it's like, I think it's just that's what it is, and it does add that extra layer because a lot of the folklore and a lot of the mythologies that black folks, have as a spiritual system, like the church. When we think about the black church, right, we think about the AME, we think about the Baptist, the Southern Baptist Church. A lot of those customs and the ways that people used to do things comes from the South.
What's the message you hope that people take away when they read this book?
I hope that this book, maybe there's a 17-year-old or 16-year-old kid out there like they don't know where they want to go, but they like, look, I want that magic of being around people that look like me, being learning about my history, learning about my history that's untapped and that's not centering whiteness. I think that's going to be important. And I hope this be a beacon. I hope this be a catalyst for young kids to say, wait, what is an HBCU? Because I do have people ask me all the time, like, what is an HBCU? I just say, it's a historically black college and university. I can't speak to the different ones because I didn't go. I don't feel like that's my right to, but I hope that kids are like, wow, okay, they're out there because you never know. You never know. Kids are in these small towns, and again, they probably looking at like Stanford or Yale or Harvard or wherever, you know, and like they're not being encouraged to go to like an institution that was literally created for them. Yes, thank you for watching, and please go grab a copy of Blood at the Root wherever books are sold. It's out now.